challenging is one thing, but genuinely winning it, I would say probably at the season, 2 seasons away from starting next season.
Do you agree that Chelsea will win the league before Arsenal manage to do it?
Let's see how this summer pans out. Let's see if Arsenal make improvements or we make improvements. But if you're asking me genuinely, I think that we'll win the league before Arsenal do, yeah. I know that I'm biased. Stanford Bridge under the lights on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, weird things happen. It feels magical. But now I've been presented with the idea of bringing in a genuinely world-class goalkeeper who is 29 in his prime. So give me Mike Maignan, and I think we could have a very good season next year.
When I come up those stairs at the East End, I still climb those same stairs to this day to go to the gantry. I remember what it felt like as a young 7-year-old to look on that pitch, and I'm so lucky, I still get that same buzz.
Hello and welcome to an Inside Chelsea Reddit Ask Me Anything special. I'm Leonie Carpenter and I'm joined by former Chelsea defender Jason Cundy and broadcaster and lifelong Chelsea fan Kweku Afari. We at talkSPORT have teamed up with Reddit for this special Ask Me Anything episode. All you Chelsea fans have been posting your questions for Jason and Kweku on the Chelsea subreddit, and we've had so many. But before we do that, just wanted to say we're thinking of former Chelsea player and your old mate Jason, Paul Canaville, who's in hospital after his health deteriorated in the last couple of days.
Yep. Yeah, the news broke yesterday. I know Paul very well. He's had health issues throughout the past. His foundation issued a statement, and the club did as well. So everyone here at talkSPORT wish him a very speedy recovery.
Absolutely, and someone that does work for the Paul Canaville Foundation as well, I do wish you all the best, yes. Paul. And there's a big event on tonight as well, screening of his new film, Resilience. So I'll be there in attendance. But yeah, we send our well wishes to you, Paul, and family. So we're going to kick off then. We've got these questions. It's going to be fun. We've got some interesting questions to ask. We're going to go straight in. Question 1. Mr. Cam Lost is the questioner. He says, I've been a Chelsea fan since '87, so basically it's all been getting better and better. Really excited about this next generation. How important do you think managers and tactics are today versus management and motivation? I feel some of our players stick to the script a bit too much, and I would love to see more movement up top and players taking shots from outside the box. That is a lot of words right there.
It is a lot of words. I'll tackle the first bit first. Football has changed from when I first was a pro and a young pro. The managers could raise their voice. They could do all sorts of things. You've heard about the coffee cups going, the sandwiches getting thrown around. It was like that. Now I think you're dealing with multi-millionaires, and I think you have to manage them in a very different way. I think football has changed. Not just that, but the way the youth team players are treated as well. They're treated very differently. Some players need to be treated in a different way. You hear the arm around a player. Some players enjoy a stern talking to. They respect and respond differently to that. Going to the second part of the question about the tactics, the game is. I think that over the last 7 or 8 years, we've seen a real shift from, and they're all doing it, going ball possession. We saw Russell at Southampton, how when you need the best players to play a certain system. Be interested to see what Burnley do this season, because Scotty Parker hasn't kind of adopted that. He's done it very different, done it his way. The Championship is different to the Premier League. I think you need to adapt. The best managers adapt. Ange Postecoglou doesn't have it in him on a Saturday to Sunday, whenever the games might be in the league, to adapt depending on the opposition. And I think the managers now, you need to be able to have different systems, different personnel for different opposition. One size does not fit all. Mm-hmm. There are certain managers and teams that can do that. Man City might be one of those, Liverpool, where they have the best players and their philosophy is, here's how we're going to play, we're going to stick to this, you've got to be better than us. And there's other teams halfway down the table I think need to be coached and managed in a very different way. In terms of the movement up top, I think the game is now maybe overcoached. There's the way that teams set up, passing from the back, they're all doing it. And I feel that the game has come a little bit stale. I don't think it's as exciting. I think the flair players that we used to see throughout the years, the Rooneys, Hazards, Bales, Henrys, you don't see many of them in the game anymore, because the game now, taking players on in wide areas, name them. Saka does it. From our point of view, Neto does it. Noni does it. There ain't many. Doku maybe. Look at Jack Grealish now at Man City. You know, he's that game that you can say, at part of his game that excited us, slowly a bit coached out of him. So spontaneity is one thing, and Cole Palmer did it in the Conference League final, didn't he? He said, I've had enough of passing sideways, I'm going to impact the game. So I think it's a combination between the manager, trusting players, and also sometimes on the pitch, manage the game yourself. You see what's in front of you, you're involved in it. How can you adapt and change the game while you're on the pitch?
No, perfect answer.
No, I would agree with that, just to add on the back of it. Like, if you look at, I said it before on the last show, managers do win you trophies, but players win your games. And moments of magic win your games. And if you look at the most successful team in the Champions League over maybe the last 10 years, it's been Real Madrid. And Ancelotti is a very laissez-faire manager, right? He understands that he's got the best players in the world, but they create those moments of genius. And I feel like that's what football's missing. And so when people talk about a more boring Premier League or how it's a little bit more dull, that's as a result of it becoming a manager's game. They are the protagonists. When Liverpool used to score a goal, the camera pans to Jurgen Klopp straight away. When City concede a goal, it goes straight to Pep Guardiola. When Chelsea concede a goal, score a goal, it goes straight to Enzo Maresca. The players are no longer the protagonists, but I think the game was better when the players took more onus and were a little bit more creative.
Yeah, no, really interesting. OK, so Chinglish, 14, shout out. He says, if we buy another striker, is there a world where Jackson is utilised on the left wing like he sometimes was under Poch? With Sancho leaving, we have no right-footed player that can play left wing yet. I always find it a bit awkward when I see Noni or Neto play left wing and cut in on their weaker foot. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, Noni actually, I felt, added something to our season when he went out on that left-hand side.
Agreed.
Neto was preferred out there, and I'm not saying Maresca stumbled across it, but he found a way to get the best out of both Noni and Neto, and swapping sides is something that's been going on for years. There is a tendency now for the left to play on the right and right to play on the left. And we know why, because that lovely cross. Saka's one of the best at it. When he cuts inside, drops his shoulder, gets a yard of space and plays that ball to that far post with his left foot. At times, incredibly difficult, almost impossible if the delivery's right, to defend against. But what you need to do, and Saka does this, it goes both ways. Saka will shape up to go there and he can go on the outside. I think I'd like to see, and this is Sancho's problem, I felt, that he didn't offer enough on the outside, and I don't think he was quick enough to drop his shoulder and get a yard of space to whip it towards that far post. So in terms of that, will Jackson play out there? I think he probably can. It's not the ideal answer, but it might be one of those where when Jackson was suspended, maybe Neto can go down the middle. It might be one of those scenarios, but I still think with Sancho gone, I think we probably need another wide player out on that left-hand side.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we saw Jackson do it last season. I remember against Luton away, he was really good in that kind of left wing position, but we do need to reinforce in that position. But I will say, obviously, Noni left-footed, and Neto left-footed, it worked with Duff and Robin, right? I know there are two different types of players and two different caliber of players, but both left-footed, obviously Robin on the right, Duff on the left, and it worked really well. I think it's about the quality of players. I think that you can have a left-footed winger on the right wing or right-footed winger on the left wing. It doesn't really matter to me. It's about the quality of players. And like Jason mentioned, it's about being able to go both ways to make something unpredictable.
Yeah, definitely. Robin and Duff, what a throwback. Love those guys. OK, let's go to Pandemania 1738. How far away do you think we are away from winning major titles again and adding on to that? Will Maresca deliver that for us, or do you think we will need to upgrade him eventually? Kweku, we're coming to you first.
With Chelsea, I always think we're just one season away. If you think about the last two times we won the big ones, the Premier League and the Champions League, at the beginning of those seasons, nobody picked Chelsea to win those competitions. In 2017, when we last won the Premier League, Conte's first season, bear in mind, the season before that, we finished 10th. Nobody had Chelsea down to win the Premier League, and we won it. And then when we won the Champions League, obviously, Frank started the season as manager, Tuchel comes in halfway through and win the Champions League. Again, nobody had us down to win it. So I think that with Chelsea, you're always a season away. It's the heritage, the DNA of modern Chelsea, that winning trophies is part of what we do. So I would never say that we're more than a season away from winning the big one, because we've done it before.
Yeah, it's difficult to answer. I mean, do you think we'll need an upgrade eventually? It's impossible to answer that question, because Maresca, for the first time in his managerial career, is going into a second season with the same club. He's never done that before. Yeah. And he will got to know the players. There will be some additions. We've already had Delap turn up, which I think is a super signing. We spoke about this last week. Really something I felt we needed. There's a goalkeeping situation that looks like we're in the market for that. Maybe another centre-half. There's players that have come, that we've, Esteo, the villain that's going to come back, Santos. There's players that haven't even seen in a Chelsea shirt yet. So they might be a revelation. They might give us something that we haven't seen in a Chelsea shirt since Hazard. We just don't know. In terms of if I had to hang my hat on it, I would say we're still a couple of seasons away from genuinely challenging is one thing, but genuinely winning it, I would say probably a season, 2 seasons away from starting next season.
But we're going to be challenging next season.
I think we have the potential to challenge next season. I don't know what that looks like in February, because if you remember, if we'd beaten Everton away, we'd have gone top of the table. That was just for Christmas. Exactly. And then we got beaten by Fulham, and it unravelled very, very quickly for us in the end. It was a fight for top 4, top 5.
But we did it when it mattered.
We did. We come good at the end, Leonie.
We did.
What was it, 7, 8 of the last 9?
Yeah,
we won.
We were just
remarkable ending of the season.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so kind of linked to that then, electrical_bat 7629 has put. All right, Kweku. It wasn't you, was it?
Make sure they take the time to read the same questions.
Look, if that's your name on Reddit, I'm reading the whole thing out. So.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is an important one. Putting club allegiances to one side, if possible, do you agree that Chelsea will win the league before Arsenal manage to do it?
Well, if we're going, I thought Arsenal would win the title last season. I didn't think Slot would come in and do as well as he did. I felt that Arsenal were. It felt like it was their time, it was coming, even in the Champions League. They're in a better place than we are right now. Arsenal are better than us. That's a simple fact. They've got the semi-final of the Champions League, finished second in the table for the last 3 seasons. So they're not a million miles away. We're behind them. If this was an F1 race, we'd be starting 4th. Arsenal starting 2nd. So that's where we are.
Yeah, good analogy.
Realistically, where we are right now. It's getting that first bit. But going back to the previous question, how far away do I think we are from challenging? I would say probably 12 to 18 to 24 months from getting it, for feeling this young team will grow, that will develop together. This is a team that I think we're probably going to... I don't think you can answer the question about the new owners right now, about the way that we've gone about our strategy for recruitment. I don't know whether we're going to know the answer to that question, maybe for another 3 or 4 years, to find out where this young squad is, how they develop and grow, whether Maresca is still here. There's a lot to be excited about right now. And I think most Chelsea fans should be very excited about what the next 12, 24 months looks like for us.
I'm excited, James.
Yeah. To answer the question, yes, we will win the league for Arsenal.
Yay.
Yeah, we will. It's very rare for a team to finish second 3 years in a row and then in their 4th year win it. I remember we finished a second 3 years in a row, but it was after we won it back-to-back when Jose first came in, and then in the 9-10 we won under Ancelotti. But there's a misnomer that, Liverpool were behind City for ages and then they won it eventually. But Liverpool finished 4th and then 2nd and then 1st. It only took 3 seasons. I think it gets to a point where if Arsenal don't win it this season or the upcoming season, then I don't know how long the players are tuned into Arteta's message. Of course, they've got a better team than us right now. We understand that. But we played Arsenal Stanford Bridge, and that was a very even game. And in big games this season, we look very, very good. So let's see how this summer pans out. Let's see if Arsenal make improvements or we make improvements. But if you're asking me genuinely, I think that we'll win the league for Arsenal too, yeah. I
think going back to that, about our record against the top 6 teams wasn't particularly great, and that needs to improve. It got better this season. And the last season, I don't think we won a game at all. We beat Newcastle at home, beat Liverpool at home, Arsenal we didn't beat, City we didn't beat. I think that our form against those teams, when you go toe-to-toe them on a Super Sunday, wherever the game might be, then I think we might start to see about where we are and who we are as a young team developing and growing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, even that Liverpool game at home towards the end of the season, that was a crucial game for us. The manner in which we won that game was very, very pleasing.
I think we're lucky to play the one we did. The title was done. It was
but
It was the timing of that. It felt, they didn't win a game off. They won the title. So timing's everything.
Just
but we took advantage.
trying to give the team credit.
But we took advantage.
We did. Okay, so next question, Kweku, we're coming to you. I don't believe this is the real Mudryk, but Mudryk says, if you could pick one player from the last 2 decades to play in the current team, who would it be? Not a luxury player, but a position we need upgraded at the moment.
Oh, such a good question. I think that you can't win anything major in football if you don't have your ducks in a row in both boxes. That's with your goalkeeper and with your striker. And off the back of bringing in Liam Delap, who I'm a big fan of, goalkeeper is the next position I think we need to improve in, despite the fact that Robert Sanchez did improve towards the back end of the season.
Yes, he did.
If I can bring in Big Pete and just stick him in goal, and he's our goalkeeper for the next 10 years, I think we've got a very good chance of winning multiple titles.
I'll go John Terry.
Yeah.
You know, that you speak about Colwell had a good season, went under the radar a little bit towards the back end of the season, really showed what he's got. I just think we missed that kind of that father figure of a player since Thiago Silva's left, Azpilicueta, Cover, you know, those older heads, those older statesmen. I would, if you're putting a 25-year-old John Terry in the middle of that defence, and you've got the likes of Colwell and you know that Tosin, everyone can learn, Reece even, you know. I just think that would be a.
Yeah.
What?
I want to change my answer to Jason's answer. That's the right answer. That is the right answer.
Sorry, first answer.
If John Terry in this team, we were a lot better. Yeah, that's the right answer.
But Petr Cech, we'll take him anyway.
Yeah, take him anyway.
Yeah, you go. Soldier 10-1 or 101 BR says, you ready for this, Jay?
Go for it.
Hi, Mr. Cundy.
Oh, being formal, are we?
We are. What are your expectations for the arrival of Esteo and Santos? And do you think having Ancelotti as their national coach will benefit them on the long term? Cheers from Brazil. Big up Brazil, by the way.
Big up Brazil. Thanks for watching. Listen, the Estevão situation, all I've done is see and heard great things about him. But knowing how tough the Premier League is for players in areas where you get a lot of the ball and you're expected to do things, I think this will be a learning curve for him. You think about defensively, he might have big Dan Burn up against him, right? And I'm using him as an example because physically, Dan Burn will impose his game on him. He will get up close and personal. You know, you can't. I mean, Saka. You think about him now. What he looks like physically. He's got that physicality. He's quick, strong, but he uses his body. Salah. I remember when Salah was here at Chelsea. Physically, he's nowhere near the specimen he is now. And you try and push Salah off the ball, you can't. So I think there'll be a learning curve for Estevão. In terms of Santos, again, impossible to answer that without him seeing what the Premier League's like. Physically, it's one of the toughest leagues in the world. Because you can have all the skill in the world. If you've got someone, a brute up alongside you, and there's a 50-50, and physically you can't deal with that, you're going to struggle. So I think there will be a developing period. Come in, come out, learn the game, understand the physicality of the Premier League. Because I've seen lots of players, technically very, very good, struggle to adapt to the Premier League.
Yeah. And Chelsea especially.
It's interesting though, Brazilians, because in my head, Argentinians, they assimilate a lot easier in the Premier League. We've seen a lot more successful Argentinians come to the Premier League. If you think about the Tevezes, the Mascherano's, the Sergio Aguero's. Whereas Brazilians, especially Brazilian forwards, it's hit and miss. We had a great one in Willian, but I think he was more geared towards it. Played in Russia before he came to England. Whereas Estevão, from what we've seen, from what we hear, he's a generational talent. But I think there's a reason why players like Neymar chose to go to La Liga rather than the Premier League, because like Jay's touched on, the physicality of the league is very, very difficult. Santos, I think, because he went and played in France last season, and because he's a centre midfielder, we've seen the likes of a Fernandinho do it in England, and centre midfielders who are Brazilian do it in England, I think he maybe got more of a chance of being consistent, but I think the ceiling is a lot higher for Estevão.
Yeah, and also timing as well, patience. I think sometimes you've got to have that patience, haven't you?
And also the age of the player. He's a kid.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned William there. You know, you learn your trade by going playing in different countries, and you know, William would have that nice little squat. You know, he was physical. He could deal with that side of the game as well. But look, I cannot wait to see him in a Chelsea shirt, by the way. There'll be games there where he'll get you off your seat.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay, so Akash says, hey, Cundy, as someone who has been involved with our club for a long, long, long time, he's not saying you're old, don't worry. How do you think the working of the club has evolved over the years? How do you think the ownership change has impacted the club culture internally?
Well, look, I was at Chelsea when Batesy sold to Roman. I saw the change in that. I was down training at Harlington. I was coaching the youth team at the time. We were down Cobham. That we already owned that ground. We were already there. And then within 2 or 3 years, Roman left Harlington, went straight to Cobham, set up the unbelievable facilities that we've got now. And the culture change there happened. That happened I hesitate to say overnight, but you know what I mean when I use that, because of the way that you come in. Right, here's what we're doing. Went out and signed the best players. We were signing 2 or 3 players a week. Do you remember that? I mean, when Duff came in, and and then Joe Colgan, Glenn Johnson. That was the change, and then you felt that this was a football club that was doing things seriously. There was no messing about. Here's what we got. Bang, bang. Players coming in. Gave to Ranieri, gave the squad. Finished second. Next season, Jose comes in, and that's where that really changed. So the culture comes from, one, implementing what you want to be as a football club, but it's then about winning. Mm-hmm. That's what comes down. That's how you really do influence the football club. It's about silverware. It's about being the best team in your country, being the best team in Europe. Since we've changed now under Bowley and Clear Lake and Luca, that change there, it happened in such a very different way, because the club we're forced to sell. Roman didn't want to sell, forced to sell. And then there was a bit of a bidding war came in, and it was all rushed. Everything was rushed. If you remember the sale when it went through, the transfer window was open in a couple of weeks. We went out, we saw Koulibaly, we bought Sterling, Fofana. We bought, Fofana. We also bought Aubameyang, if you remember that.
Oh, yes.
And those signings there, you look back now, they feel rushed.
Yeah, they do.
They felt a bit rushed. Not that, when Roman came in, it was rushed, but in a slightly different way, slightly more measured, well thought. You think about the players we're buying now. We're buying young potential. Sterling wasn't. It was already realised. Koulibaly wasn't. Aubameyang wasn't. So those 3 signings, when the first 3, changed things. And it was different because, having been through both of those, people don't like change. Change is, it's nerve-wracking. What's going to happen? How do we move forward? And I think mistakes have been made. I think if you spoke to the owners, I think they'd openly admit that. But I think where we're looking now, you go back 12 months ago, 24 months ago, where we're sat now, Champions League football, and we've won a trophy. It feels like that this could be the beginning of something very exciting. And the club, we've got through those unprecedented, never seen those change at a football club ever before. No club has ever been sanctioned. Yeah. And I think we're slowly but surely now looking like we're coming out of it.
Yeah, and I think we just had, again, as Chelsea fans, we were almost spoiled, right? When Roman chose to buy Chelsea in 2003, we didn't expect the success to happen that quickly. But when, like you mentioned, Jose came in and Peter Kenyon doing the deals behind the closed doors, it was just, we had the best owner, we had the best manager, we had the best kind of director of football, and we were the best team in the country. And over those 20 years that Roman owned Chelsea, we were the most successful club in the country. So to go from that to a completely new ownership group that haven't been involved, they've been involved in football, but not to this scale, not a club the size of Chelsea, it was going to take a little bit of time to settle. But like Jace mentioned, we were going in the right direction. First season 12th, second season 6th, last season 4th. We are going in the right direction. And we've seen rebuilds for clubs like Arsenal, for clubs like Liverpool, take a very, very long time. Yeah. So the fact that we're already back in the Champions League and winning trophies, I think it's only going to be up from here.
Yeah. And that's under how many different managers as well?
Yeah, there's been a lot of change at this club. Yeah. Huge amounts of change, both upstairs, in the dugout, in the changing room. It's been, Reece James is the only one from our 21 Champions League.
Mental.
The only one left.
Crazy.
Right? And that was 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's still only 18 in my eyes. Crazy. Okay, Kweku, let's come to you. Yep. Question from Zeus the Potato. With all the recent changes at the club over the last few years, where do you think we went wrong in terms of unreliable crowd support and atmosphere at the Bridge? Can we simply blame the tourists?
I think that is an interesting point, and I've heard it be discussed online by some Chelsea fans, but I think that's unfair on the Chelsea faithful to go to Stanford Bridge week in and week out. Chelsea fans do get behind the team when there's something to get behind, right? But because, like Jason mentioned, we've gone through such a transition and we've seen our team win the Champions League and then 2 years later finish 12th, it's going to take some adjustment. And I do always point to 2020. Frank's first season, people forget about it, but it was a great first season. I don't think Chelsea fans had felt that connected to the club in such a long time. It was Frank in the dugout, and you had Mason, you had Reece, you had Fick, you had Tammy, you had the boys from Cobham. And despite the fact we didn't win a trophy, we felt so connected. In that summer, we go and make some big moves, bringing Kai Havertz, bringing Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Thiago Silva. And granted, those players helped us win the Champions League. But if you look at it, like Jason mentioned, only one of that team is still left. So I feel like there's been a players who've come to Chelsea and left Chelsea that didn't really understand what it meant to be proper Chelsea. Think about Timo Werner, who's played for Spurs. Think about Kai Havertz, who's played for Arsenal. Think about Mason Mount, who's now at Manchester United. And so the fans didn't really have any players to kind of hook onto, especially in the post-Hazard era. And so that's why I feel like now we're starting to see more positivity because you've got the likes of Cole Palmer that the fans love, you've got the likes of Caicedo that the fans love. Cucurella's made a 360 and he's now, or 180 in terms of his perception amongst Chelsea fans. So I think there was just a period of time where the fans didn't really relate to players and it made them feel a little bit uncomfortable. The football wasn't great, we weren't playing well, weren't getting results. But now we are playing well, we are getting results, we've got some top players. I think that you'll see the atmosphere change at Stamford Bridge. Yeah. And I know that I'm biased. Stanford Bridge under the lights on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, weird things happen. It feels magical. Even in Frank's first season, or Frank's second season, the 4-0 against Ajax. There are just magical things that happen when Chelsea are in the Champions League. And I think you'll feel that magic come back to Stanford Bridge next season.
No.
Yeah, I don't think, at times it can be a little bit flat at Stanford Bridge, but it's not just a Chelsea thing. I think it's a Premier League problem. Everyone tells me about how wonderful the atmosphere is at Anfield and St James's Park. You can't be like that every week. No disrespect to Bournemouth or Brentford. Those games are going to be very different. So when you're playing Spurs on a Monday night under the lights, like Kweku's just alluded to. So I think there are certain games that the atmosphere will crackle. I was just talking about change at the football club. Don't forget, it might well be the board and the dressing room and the dugout, but as fans, we've had to watch this change. And I think we feel... Well, I certainly felt uneasy at the time because I didn't know where the club was going. When we were sanctioned, there was all sorts of talk in the papers. OK, man of it was just to get papers sold. But there was talk of us going under.
Mm-hmm.
There was a really horrible period. And as I said earlier, I still think that we are slowly but surely, as a football club, and that means the fans, in the stands, we're still coming out of that now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been to most home games this season. It's been very hit and miss. And obviously, we overachieved at the beginning of the season. The Brighton game at home, I still, I'm buzzing about that. But it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think now we're coming off the back of a trophy and a top 4 finish, things will change.
Can't wait.
Me too, Jason. Me too. Before we carry on with the questions, just a reminder that if you want a chance to win 2 tickets to the Club World Cup final in New York with flights, hotel and £5,000 cash, go to talksport.com/competitions and you can find out all the info you need on how to enter plus full T's and C's. Let's go to Sid. Sid says, which manager over the years do you feel was dismissed too soon and should have been kept on? Kweku, let's come to you.
My go-to answer, because I remember how I felt when Jose was let go. It was the beginning of his 4th season at the club. I remember I went to school and I didn't talk to anybody. I was absolutely heartbroken. I couldn't believe it. Obviously, in his first 2 years, won the league back-to-back. In his 3rd year, we didn't win the league, but he won the FA Cup and the League Cup as well. So that was my go-to answer. But if you really analyse the fact that Chelsea won the double for the first time in their history under Ancelotti in 09-10 and then sacked him the following season after he finished 2nd at Goodison Park, I think that one was a bit harsh. And I know Roman was justified because we continued to win trophies. But I think sacking Ancelotti after he delivered us our first ever double in his 2nd season, I think that was very harsh.
Only one answer for me, Ancelotti.
Yeah.
He summed it up.
Yeah.
To release. And not only that, you think about what he's done since and what up until quite recently was still doing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Ancelotti for me,
Yeah. Well, double.
Yes.
I won't sing the rest because no one wants to hear that.
Can we sing that anymore? Now Spurs won a trophy.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Can we?
There'll be ways of tailoring your words, I'm sure.
Well, can you come up with a final line to that chant?
Someone did mention about... Hold on. They won in Spain. Yeah. They won something in Spain as opposed to again.
Okay, there we go.
I feel like it's not got the same impact, let's be honest.
No.
They're still losers. They're still losers.
No.
OK, so big question now. Interesting to your answers on this. Derek Esco Nasty Nas.
Right.
He asks, who was better technically, Hazard or Zola?
What a horrible question
That is
Not my
ridiculous.
question.
That is a horrible question. I think Hazard's the best player I've ever seen in a Chelsea shirt. that's not to say that Zola wasn't a marvel. I think in terms of technical ability, the pair of them were little geniuses. I love watching the both of them, but there was something about Hazard, about how he dragged us to, the year we won under Conte, the title, it was pretty much win the ball, give it to Hazard. And I know we had players around him and supporting acts, and we had a very good team, but that year that we won the title under Conte, it did feel as though he was the go-to guy. And he dragged us all that way. Without him, we wouldn't have won that title. But technically, that's not the question, really. Who was technically better? I mean, how do you answer that? There's no right or wrong answer here, is there?
I think Derek wants an answer.
There is an answer. I've said it on the show multiple times. Zola's my favourite Chelsea player of all time. He's the reason why I fell in love with Chelsea and fell in love with football. But that's the heart. The head and the eyes. I know that we've never had a more talented player at the football club than Eden Hazard. What he could do with the ball, what he could do by himself, the titles that he dragged us to when we had no right to win those titles. In his final season, under Sarri, a season that a lot of Chelsea fans hated, we finished third and won the Europa League, which you didn't need to win because Eden Hazard was a genius. He was an absolute genius. So I would love to say Zola. And for the old school Chelsea fans, they're going to say Zola. But if we're being honest and talking about just pure ability, it's Hazard.
No one's going to fall out of this question.
No.
You're not going to get Chelsea fans because you can see both sides.
You know both players
you
are
see
actually
both
watching
sides.
this now, right?
If you've got someone
they
that
might have something to say.
Yeah, and you could say, yeah, I get your point about Zola, and you get your point. Yeah. There's no wrong answer for
Well,
that.
I think we're just blessed to have two incredible players, aren't we?
Yes.
So let's not choose. Let's not choose. So this one is from We Burn Blue Pod. Kweku, I'm coming to you. Mm-hmm. If FIFA put in a restriction that Chelsea can only sign one player this transfer window, who would you sign and why? Now, I know you guys both said Delap, so well done. Clearly, you're very powerful figures, so be careful with how you answer this. Yeah. But who else would you sign? We're going to be greedy now. We're going to give you another shot.
Who would I sign? Now that we've been teased with it, I just want Mike Maignan. Like, now that I didn't want a goalkeeper. I thought Petrovic, we could save a bit of money there. He's been good on loan. Bring him in and see how he does. And he was good in his first stint at Chelsea. But now I've been presented with the idea of bringing in a genuinely world-class goalkeeper who is 29 in his prime. I want that now because really and truly, when Jason answered the previous question about John Terry, I would love to bring a centre-back, but I just don't know who fits that profile. So give me Mike Maignan and I think we could have a very good season next year.
Would you have Petrovic as a number 2 then? Or would you stick with Sanchez?
I would probably have Jorgensen as a number 2 and probably sell up Sanchez. I think Sanchez, towards the end of the season, especially against Forest, was very, very good. But I think just in terms of how Maresca wants to play, in terms of how we can move forward as a football club, I'd like to see us maybe upgrade in that position.
Interesting.
A centre-half is my go-to area again. Mm-hmm. What Thiago Silva brought in to us was invaluable. When his first ever Champions League, was knocking on the door with PSG many, many years, couldn't quite get over the line. But what he gave us in that period that he was here, and he earned the right for those new contracts, that type of figure, that type of player that can come in and players learn off him. I've said this many times. Marcel Desailly was alongside John Terry. He had Frank Leboeuf also. You're talking about some serial winners, World Cup winners we're talking. That level, that's the sort of player that I'd like to see at Chelsea.
Do you reckon Thiago Silva could still do a job?
Who knows? Who knows?
OK, next up, Angel says, love the show all the way from New York. Big up New York. You often have me cracking up. Oh, that's just me. That's just me. No, I'm joking. My question is, what is the first goal that you can remember witnessing live at Stanford Bridge? Love this question.
Well, I know mine. Mine was 1976, November 1976.
Wow.
It was my 7th birthday, I think, 7th birthday. My dad took me, it was under the lights, it was a midweek game. 1970, played Charlton, beat them 2-1. I think Kenny Swain might have scored, actually. We're going back a long, long time here. But I fell in love because the East Stand was there at the time. And if you remember Stanford Bridge, what it was before, the old shed, the benches, and and what was just like some sort of rubble away to the right as you sat in the East Stand was like the away end, and it was just left derelict. There were all sorts of things growing out of it, boarded up. It was terrible. But when I come up those stairs at the East Stand, I still climb those same stairs to this day to go to the gantry to commentate on Chelsea. I still climb those same stairs, and I tell you, as soon as I get there, I look down at the pitch and I remember what it felt like as a young 7-year-old to look on that pitch, and I'm so lucky, I still get that same buzz. Still get the same buzz.
That's beautiful, that is. That's genuinely beautiful.
Still get the same buzz. Look at that pitch, thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
Leonie's going to cry.
No, I think yeah, but it's, I'm lucky enough.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough now. I've been climbing those same steps on and off for the last 48 years.
Magic in that.
Do you know, 46. So I'm incredibly blessed. Yeah. And to still climb those same steps.
Oh, it's lovely. It's so lovely. And that's the beauty of supporting this club, isn't it? Those memories, those first memories, like mine was with my dad, and I'll never forget that.
No,
it stays with you.
Yes, it does.
Jason's a little bit older than me.
Just a bit.
He's got a better memory than me. We did this before in one of the previous shows. I remember it was against Southampton, but I can't remember the goal scorer. But like Jason mentioned, just the feeling of, for me, it's like when you walk up the stairs and then you see the green pitch, and you're like, your heroes are just there. Like, it's almost like it beggars belief. It's like they're just in front of you and you can see them and you feel like you're with them. It's just it's the green pitch as well. There's just something about it that just...
You can't believe the size of it. Yeah. Everything blows you away. Everything I used to watch when they didn't have as much football on TV. Of course they didn't. But, I supported Chelsea from as long as I can walk. And the players, but to see them, nowadays I think that you are far more accessible. You get cards, you get the internet, there's all sorts, there's wall-to-wall media about it. But when I first went there, and you think, it's real. It's a real place. It's not fictional. It's not something that happens on TV. You think, oh, is that real? Yeah. It's a real place, Stanford Bridge.
Yeah.
It's a magic place as well. We get slated for our stadium. There's nothing more magic than Stanford Bridge. And I remember, I can't remember the first goal I saw at Stanford Bridge, but I remember the first player that I met, and it was Vialli. And I remember just thinking, you are not a real human being. Like, you are just, you're not real. It was just a different type of thing. And then, like you mentioned, footballers are more accessible these days. And so the mystique is kind of not there. But back in the day, especially where we go through that continental period where we had players like Marcel Desailly and we had Leboeufs and we had Viallis and even, we had those kind of continental players. Obviously, I didn't get to meet Zola, but meeting Vialli and just seeing him and just being close to him, it felt magical. And that's what football should give you. That's what I think people lose when you don't go to the games. Of course, not everyone can go to the games. People live in different countries, different cities. But if you go to Stanford Bridge, make the pilgrimage because you'll never regret it.
Yeah, well, it was Jimmy Floyd for me. He was the one.
Yeah.
And just magic moments with him. And it's one of those, isn't it? You never forget your first moment there. Nope. And I'm very fortunate to go to lots of games and I will never take it for granted. No. Scanning your ticket in and walking up those steps, I will never, ever take it for granted. Let's go to Pax Suprana. Hey, Jason. First, just wanted to say I absolutely love your audio commentary.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
There you go. You're doing a good job. Wait for it, the perfect amount of passion, energy, and even agony at times.
Yeah, I go through it.
Fair analysis.
I go through it on the Chelsea app. I'm very lucky. I get paid to go and watch Chelsea play. Again, I don't take it for granted. It's an absolute privilege and a pleasure to do it. But I'm invested. It's my club, and I cannot. I do go over the top at times because I'm living the moment. I'm a fan commentating on Chelsea, and sometimes because it's an in-house app. You can be partisan. I can let myself go. And I can, at the same time, I can be a little bit too critical because it matters and it cares. Things matter to me. So sometimes it's getting a balance between being frustrated about what I'm watching if we're not playing well, and then the celebrations when we score a last-minute winner against Manchester United when we were losing 3-2 with 70 seconds left on the clock, and Palmer scores. I lose my headphones come off. It is literally, I'm a fan commentator.
Oh, I've seen it, Jace.
And but I love it. Yeah. I absolutely love it. And getting the balance right between the agony and the ecstasy, sometimes it's a little difficult.
Oh no, you get it perfect. When you stick those highlights up, you just hear Jason on commentary.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, Chelsea TV Days, just watching you in the gantry, on the gantry cam.
I've done shows with you, Leonie. I've done shows with you.
That's my favourite bit sometimes when I'm producing the show and all I can see is you. It's when the cans come off, that's when I know it's all going down.
There's a real art to it, though. I remember there was one game that, I did Chelsea TV, I went up to the commentary booth with you and I was the third voice. And your ability to pick out players, and you have to remember that you're a fan watching it, but you also have to be analysing it. I was just there watching it and trying to then remember what I've seen afterwards. But then being able to be a fan, be in the moment, be excited, but also analyse what you're seeing. There's a lot that goes on.
There's a lot that goes on, but
No,
I'm
fair
very
play,
lucky.
Jace,
Very
fair play.
lucky.
That wasn't actually the question. That was some nice comments. The question is,
Sorry.
what are your thoughts on the Club World Cup as a competition this summer, and what are your expectations for the club?
So it'd be interesting to see not just how Chelsea take it, how other teams take it as well. PSG have just had played in the Champions League final. I think the group stages should be a formality. I think all the big dogs should get through quite comfortably. I think you might see a sort of team selection that Maresca did with the Conference League, give players moments. It'll take a strong squad. This is an opportunity. This is an inaugural competition. What a coup that would be if we walk away with the trophy in its first ever guise. And I think the closer we get, last 16 quarters and semis, if we do get that far, I think you'll see the strongest Chelsea team. I think that going into it, I think we'll take it seriously. But there's also going to be moments you would have thought, because my concern is not necessarily about this tournament, it's about the start of next season. About these players' burnout. These players are still now, they're travelling to America, right? They're going over there hopefully for a month. That means we've gone deep in the competition. Then you think about when we come back. So the competition ends, I think, 13th of July, right? Season starts on the 16th of August.
Yeah.
So you're talking a month away. Now, these players need to go away. They need 2 weeks off. And then you're coming back in preparation for next season. So you're going to cover them 2 weeks back Maresca. That's insane. That's not the way you start a season. So my concern is, I want to do well, but I'm very much acutely aware that there's such little time to prepare for next season as well. So, want to do well, but fingers crossed that we start the season strong.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like Jason mentioned, I think just in the group stages we should rotate. In the knockouts we should try and win it. In life, everyone has a boss. And I think the bosses at Chelsea, we want Maresca to take this tournament very seriously because of the prize money associated with it. And you can understand that, right? We live in the world of PSR. But I also think that Maresca knows that despite the fact it would be disappointing if we don't go deep in this competition, this is not where the fans will judge him. And ultimately, I think the fans dictate if the manager keeps his job or not. The fans turn on you, you're dead. And I think the Chelsea fans are looking towards next season in the Premier League and in the Champions League as where we're going to really judge Maresca. If we go out in the round of 16 in the Club World Cup, it will hurt for about 5 minutes, and then we look ahead to a new season and understand players need rest. So it's a balancing act, and it's quite tough for these managers, but hopefully Maresca, like in the Conference League, can find that perfect balance and make sure that we navigate far in this competition, but also keep our players relatively fresh.
Mm-hmm. Be nice to have the badge as well.
Yeah, it would be.
Jace, let's come to you. This is from Rated HDG. What did you find most difficult when transitioning out of playing the game, like life after football?
Well, my career was cut short through injury, and I was preparing myself for it because I had an injury, and I knew I was just sorted. I was at Portsmouth at the time, and I had a package. I had 2.5 years left on my contract, so I had a package that needed to be sorted out. So mentally, I'd come to terms with retiring, even though it wasn't easy. I come away from football very bitter. I didn't watch football for a year. I had a new son, and I spent the next year just with him and the family, and I turned my back on football a bit. And it was Damien Matthew, who was in the youth team, the first team with at Chelsea. He was a coach in the academy. He phoned me up one day and said, "Right, I've had enough of this. You're coming to Stanford Bridge. You're going to get, I want you back in the academy." And the game I saw was when the Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank scored that perfect hat-trick against Spurs in the League Cup. And that was my first game back watching proper football. And it was quite a long time. I didn't go and watch football. And then once you go back, you literally fall in love again. The bitterness had left me. I'd got to terms with retiring. I was still a young man, and I went into the academy and coached. And from that moment on, I talk about football every single day of my life now. So it took a bit of time to adjust because I felt that football would let me down. I'd so many injuries. I'd cancel out throughout I was playing. My career was cut short at 29. I'd come away from it. A bit bitter. But, we live and move on.
And look at you now.
And look at me now, look. You two fine people.
Thank you. Right, we've got 3 quick fire questions to end with Jason. I hope you're ready.
Go on.
Quick, emphasise quick, yeah?
Go on then.
OK, right. Perster38 says, why are you called Funboy?
I'm called Funboy because someone did a trial at talkSPORT where they had Andy Goldstein and me, and I was the Funboy from London Town. I don't know why. I don't know why they did it, but they did it, and that's stuck forever since. And it was just a trail for the sports bar.
You are quite fun, to be fair.
I am the fun boy.
OK, Happy Side 13 says, all right, Jace, your talkSPORT colleague, Adrian Durham, recently said you always smell nice. And having seen you numerous times post-match in the Wise restaurant at the Bridge, he's correct. What's your scent, mate?
Right, I knew this question was coming. So does anyone want to zoom in on that? That's it. All right, so there you go. You want to zoom in? It's Eau Sauvage. It's the Exceller. You need to get that one. If it hasn't got that in the middle, don't bother buying it, OK? That's the one you've got to go for, that bad boy.
There you go. Well, it served you well. It served you well.
You do always smell fantastic.
I spray a lot on.
Final question, Jace. Commentary asks, don't you get tired of laughing at Jamie O'Hara?
Never.
I know I certainly would.
Never. Honestly, it's so funny, the fact that, you know, and well done, by the way, they won the Europa League. You can't deny, can't take that away from them. They finished 17th. No shame, that lot. The only team ever to lose 22 games in the Premier League season and not get relegated. So don't let them forget that. And every single game we play them, we always beat them. It's such great fun just to lump in and give it to O'Hara. He's a good lad. We get on well, but I'll never tire of giving O'Hara a stick.
That is what we like to hear, Jace. That's what we like to hear. That's it for another episode and season of Inside Chelsea. Thanks for all your questions to the boys today. If you're not familiar with the Chelsea subreddit, then go and check them out. It's a brilliant page full of stats, videos, Chelsea chats and loads more. All of Jason and Kweku's answers from today's show will be on there as well. Thank you very much for your company, and thanks to Jason and Kweku as well. We'll see you guys next season. One more time.
Up the Chelsea!